I call to order the Planning Commission meeting for the Village of Belleville on Wednesday, June 25th at 6:01 p.m.
Mike Zerbis,
Present.
Chance Kazmarski. Here virtually.
Here.
Hey, Gary Ziegler.
Here.
Debbie's not here. Jared's not here. Larry Enlow.
Here.
All right, you do have a quorum. And I'm here.
Participation. So this is where you guys get to talk about anything on the agenda or not. Please try to keep your comments to about 3 minutes and come to the podium and state your name and address, please.
I just have one signed up, Mr. Fleischer.
Okay.
Dr. Flesh.
Yeah, sorry. Did you, if you want to, do you still want to speak now? You're welcome to.
Absolutely.
Okay, go for it.
At Flesh 25B West Main Street. I have some following concerns regarding the conditional use permit for the Hop Garden. Belleville Ordinance 615-75.1B states, it is the purpose of an attractive wall, permanent fence, or barrier in the beer garden area to prohibit and restrict the ease in which alcohol beverages may be passed from within the beer garden area to anyone outside the beer garden. The current barrier along my two separate parcels on the east side of the proposed beer garden consists of a single chain. This barrier was not constructed in a way that it achieves the required purpose as set forth in the ordinance. It is short enough to easily pass over alcohol beverages both over and under the single chain. Ordinance 615-17.1B Roman numeral 8 states, the beer garden shall be attached to the main business premise and access to the outdoor premises shall only be allowed through the main building. The chain barrier does not prevent people from entering the beer garden. It's easy to lift and go under. I think the proposed beer garden may be a fine addition to the downtown if the owners operate within the ordinances. As constructed, it's my opinion that a reasonable man would not find the current configuration to be in compliance with the ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, consent agenda. All items in the consent agenda are considered to be routine in nature and will be enacted in one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless the commission member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considers the first item on the approval after the approval of the consent agenda. And we have the minutes from last meeting, June 11th. Planning Commission.
I'll move approval of the consent agenda.
Second. Motion by Jerry, second by Larry. All those in favor? Opposed? Pass it is. Next item up is conditional use permit application 2025-20 for 107 West Main Street. So there is a presentation.
I mean, yeah, we put a presentation there in case you wanted to say anything about it. I saw the application, and I will leave most of the comments to Ian, what Ian wrote. We did have a previous conditional use permit discussion about this beer garden. It was for the noise area and not necessarily for the alcohol portion. What this is tonight. That was passed, but that was passed back in January, the noise considerations. And then I will just briefly address the comments earlier. So there was an update to the ordinances in 22, which I apologize, it's not up on our website. But in 22, ordinance 2-5 specifically states a barrier for a beer garden is defined as a suitable barricade, i.e. a decorative chain and post that cordon the beer garden off from the remainder of the outside area. So when we did discuss this earlier, I understand the concerns about the chain and post, but they are technically in the ordinance as allowable fencing for a beer garden.
So the ordinance was changed back in
22. Yes.
And it's not up on the website.
It's not up on the
I
website.
can't find that there either.
Yeah, I will.
It's here in 2024. You can use a chain, it just has to meet the purpose.
I can,
As in the above, it says about the barrier and the permanent fence, so that's fine, have a chain, but you
Let me
have
that
to
real
meet the
fast.
purpose.
Can you send us the current
Yeah.
ordinance, please?
That language appears right before what you just read.
I only bring it up because we did have a discussion with Mr. Solomon and Rich, in January regarding some of those concerns.
We weren't allowed to speak in January
It was
about anything
it was
related to a beer garden.
No, I mean, in January, it was not a public meeting, it was just a staff meeting.
And the last thing I'll say is right before it talked about what I quoted, Mr. Chairman, it says, all that attractive wall, permanent fence and barrier always goes together. In this ordinance, if you read it in total, it says it's intended to provide control over the operation of the beer garden. I just don't think that chain is any kind of control.
I forwarded you the ordinance. I apologize, I didn't send that earlier.
Send it to all of us? Or
Yeah, I sent it to all of you. When we recodify the ordinances, hopefully by the end of the year, we'll make sure the complete new sets are up properly on the website. It's just that the amount of money that they would charge us at this point to update it.
Okay, so ordinance 2022-05 is the current
This is the current beer garden ordinance, yes.
602.
It's current September 16, 24.
Well, September 16, 24 just changed the status of the beer garden to a conditional use permit and not the language regarding the structure and use and that kind of stuff of the beer garden.
Yeah.
It was just like the application process is what changed in 24,
Sure.
which is why we're here tonight and not at license advisory. Make sure you got it.
have the notes from when we changed so that comes here rather than goes to license.
Yeah, I have. Oh, there it is. Surprised I didn't see you guys don't respond back to these emails.
Didn't bring my glasses. Dang it. So original. Oh, it's just there. The windows.
Okay.
It's something,
Okay,
but my brother.
yeah. You're in charge, man.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh. Here's part of the issue with this. That I see is even a single chain fence does put control of keeping people in place, which is part of the goal of the fencing. Although it can be argued that it doesn't prevent the exchange of alcohol across the fence. The same could be said for the approved beer garden already over at Johnny O's in the front there. Their fence isn't tall enough to prevent exchange of alcohol either. So
I guess you're saying you're wrong on that too, huh?
just pointing out a fact,
Think there was discussion. Could be 100% wrong, but when I had the beer garden, there was a lot of conversation about, alcohol being passed over, and the conversation was that we wanted to be more inviting in town and not make it look like it's a prison, and that it wasn't, again, the 80s. People don't necessarily go to a beer garden to pass alcohol over to a teenager on the other side.
and that is the gist of the summary of when the ordinance was rewritten
Mhm.
in 2022 was to make things more inviting. Was part of its intention
I think they compared.
rather than that like at J&M's with 6-foot high fences and boxing people in essentially. So that was the intention behind when the ordinance was rewritten in 2022.
And I believe you have to have a licensed bartender on hand at all times.
Yes.
Who is responsible for the control of the alcohol. So we would have to make sure that at all times.
Right, and that is in both in the ordinance for having a licensed bartender in the beer garden.
We have a festival district now, which is going to be used, I think, for the first time for Brother Love. So, which allows people to walk up and down the streets with open intoxicants. So with certain restrictions. So
I think there's some expectation that the business is going to police itself with that licensed bartender. That's the expectation, but how things actually happen and play out, can always be different.
I think too, we also have adequate ordinance to address enforcement of any violations or problem. There's an ordinance, not just for the license holder or the licensed bartender, but there's an ordinance that addresses furnishing alcohol to others, underage persons. There's state statute that addresses this.
There's definitely state statute.
And really at the end of the day, it comes down to, does the license holder want to retain that license and have that business opportunity? It falls on their responsibility. We can only police this so far.
So I guess one way to look at it is you could make the argument that defense along with the operator is your control of alcohol.
Could go as far to say that a 4-foot fence doesn't meet the ordinance requirement.
Right. You could go that far also.
Because it used
I
to
don't
be 6
disagree.
feet, and it's quite standard.
Right.
And I think that the only issue in front of you tonight is that you're obligated to enforce your ordinances equally across. So the ordinances have been enforced on the other bar holders to meet that criteria, and they met that. And now me, I met with Stottleman and Baker, and they told me they're gonna put a fence there. And a chain. My more issue is not having people pass through my property. I don't think that single chain achieves that.
You can put a fence up if you're.
And I don't think that I'd be obligated to have to put a fence up to mitigate this new attraction,
Right.
because I should be protected and guaranteed by this ordinance. That if this was done like it was supposed to be, I shouldn't even have to be here.
Well, the height requirement was removed in 22. I'm trying to look to see if they changed the height requirement to the fence. Of the fence, I don't see it.
Yeah, it's in
Okay.
subsection B, subsection 1. It was removed, so permanent fence or barrier, and then they struck out not less than 6 feet in height, but which may not exceed 10 feet, so that was removed. So
That was in 215, wasn't it?
In 22.
by the village board, June 6, 2022. So, I mean, to the point of if we have to try to treat everybody equally, Johnny O's has already been approved. So that would mean this should be approved then, because it is, I don't see any other where it's deficient in any other way.
Sure. I don't want to throw the cart hold before the horse here because we still haven't actually had the public hearing, and we kind of
Oh, yeah,
are in discussion at this point, but
right. I suppose we should finish that technicality, huh? So open the public hearing at 6:21. We got into the application and into the, so was the public hearing
yeah, the
posted?
public hearing was published in the Post Messenger Recorder on 6/5 and on 6/12. And I've included the affidavit of publication as part of the agenda packet. It was also posted at Village Hall, the public library, and on the Village Belleville website on Friday, June 20th.
Okay, so now we're in the public participation. Does everyone want to repeat themselves?
All right, Dr. Flash, excuse me, I would like to.
No, I think I've said everything I need to say, and I need to get going. So you will do what you're gonna do. And like I said, attach that so that it's part of the record, so that the next steps happen. Thanks.
Okay. All right.
No one else signed up
No
for.
one else signed up? Any other comments? Any other comments? Any other comments? And I'll close the public hearing at 6:22. Discuss and consider the conditional use permit request authorizing a beer garden at 107 West Main Street. So we kind of did most of this already. I'm
Yeah.
just dotting the i's and crossing the t's on the agenda here. So
I mean, if you look at Ian's letter that he gave us, I mean, it's pretty thorough again, so. And yeah, a lot has changed since he took these pictures, so from what I saw when I wrote back through there the other day, so. And according to this, the entire fencing meets the standards set forth in the zoning code, so. So, did you see this letter, Rich?
Yeah, so there was his initial inspection, which was probably looking at those photos, was that inspection.
Okay,
And then he had a question on how we were going to limit people going into Deb's property. And him and I discussed it and we came up with a solution where we will put a fence, before you get to Deb's stairs going up her deck. So anybody go up her deck, there will be a chain across there. And it'll say no alcohol beyond this point. And then if there's no alcohol, they can pass through that spot. She also has an upstairs area that will have a chain across. So you're probably just gonna say do not enter or something.
Yeah, and then there'll be a sign on the door that says no alcohol beyond this point, and plus
on the
I will
back,
be on staff.
on the back door, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I can even put one on the front door.
Yeah, might not hurt to put one there
Okay.
too, so.
And then I'll be on staff at all times to make sure that there's no alcohol coming in to the building or up on my patio.
Yeah, and Ian seemed to be fine with that, doing that.
And my patio right now at this point isn't big enough for people to even
I was gonna
sit.
say, it's not very big.
No.
We also kind of went above and beyond on Ed's property to help protect him by putting the solid rail fence all the way up to his property with a gate that we did, for him. Keep it from going behind his garage.
I am not that familiar with back there. So this is the picture that was provided with the,
That's the one that Mr. Flesh or Dr. Flesh provided.
Yeah,
with
right,
his
That's the
letter.
most recent, probably.
with the single chain. Is that what you're referring to? or-
Nope, so you see this fence that goes along here?
Yep.
We ran that all the way to his garage.
Okay, I see that.
Gate there.
Okay,
Because before, he had some liability that if people went behind there and fell in the river.
right.
Because there's no fence below his fence into the river, and it's pretty steep drop.
Yeah,
So we did that on our, well, he agreed to it.
Yep.
We did that for him to help.
but this is the one he's talking about, that it's just a chain link or
Yeah,
what,
which was the green back, two back in January.
yeah.
It's like,
So these steps that are in this picture, they go right down to the Camden, right, or down, or
Yep, so this is a gate for the city to be able to have access.
get
to this.
access, okay, all right.
Yep, and it's lockable. We don't have it locked right now, but I can bring a key down. But we're just gonna see if it needs to be locked, see if there's an issue.
I mean, the only reason I would think to not lock it is, well, God forbid, in the event something was happening and they had to get out. of
Maybe-
the-
Maybe put a sign on it, something like authorized personnel.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
something like that,
Yeah,
just to.
City access.
Yeah,
I would prefer to see it unlocked, but you're gonna get people that try to walk
Okay.
down there, so.
So we can put something.
yeah, maybe, yeah.
Like I said, we were just gonna see if it became an issue and we catch people down there and be
Yeah.
like, okay.
Yeah.
we're gonna put something.
In my younger days, I would have,
Yeah.
like, hey, I wanna go down there. and Especially
Well,
with
and
the water
people-
rushing like it is now.
And people were able to do that before. It was
Yeah.
wide open before.
Well, yeah, I mean,
So-
I've seen people, yeah, they've gone either from either side and gone over that. I remember kids, this is a long time ago, but falling down over the dam. So you guys are great. It's
Yeah.
that's,
They actually had a a walkway going across.
Yeah, in those days, yeah. Cause I remember one day after cleaning up after the pork chop dinner, we were there cleaning stuff and kids were going down and I said, you guys, well, you're in good hands because we're right here if you hurt yourself, but
Now, that fence you see there next to Sherry Baldwin's fence was going to be 2.5 feet apart, so it's like 6 inches apart.
It'd also be possible to maybe get some small signs to hang on the same chain here that say like no entry. Or, you know, maybe 3 or 4 of them, you know, every other section or something like that, just to, at least it's posted.
Do not cross private
Yeah.
property or something.
Yeah. Or, I don't know if
I
they
can
make
put-
like a double-sided type of thing where, you know, you don't want people leaving through there, you know, private property, or, and you don't want people going under the chain and
Yeah.
coming into the
Right.
beer garden also.
Right.
Yeah.
They're supposed to enter through, you know, the main business.
Yep, we can do that.
This may be too far. Is there ever an idea for more than one chain, like a 3 chainer? Two? Or does it, okay,
Well, what's the difference? 1 chain or 2 chain?
exactly.
Well, it just slows you up a little bit. They've been walking across it all the time.
Who has been?
People,
Really?
oh yeah, they go and you go and look over, you know, and come back out.
Everybody wants to see it.
Well, they should be walking on the grass, but.
Yeah, that's right.
He might hear
Yeah.
your
But
spot.
they have been, yes.
Oh,
So
Is that plastic or metal chain?
I believe it's metal.
So, yeah, if traffic and trespassing becomes an issue, that's something to deal with then. So then we trust people, I think, that they will, you know, abide and be accommodating. So. Chance, you got anything you want to add?
I mean, I think at the end of the day, obviously we have to adhere to the ordinance, but when it comes to the whole issue of fencing, I haven't met a fence that's gonna prevent people from making poor choices, or any other barrier. If they're gonna do it, they're gonna do it, and, I think we have more than adequate ordinance statute for enforcement mechanism if and when that happens, so I'm not overly concerned about this at all.
Larry, any comments?
Yeah, clear. That picture I was looking at when you were up here. What is the barrier on the east side of the property? Is that fence?
That's that wire rail thing, metal rail thing.
That's on the east side.
That's a chain fence.
Oh, see it, east side.
Yep.
Yeah, that's on the east side. Yep, that's on Ed's side.
Okay, and that's where the chain fence is.
Yeah, yeah.
What's on the west end?
Well, we got Sherry's fence is along both sides.
Fence look-
Otherwise, it's it's the metal rail
looks like that.
that goes across where the dam is.
Johnny owns, isn't it?
Yeah,
What's that?
Johnny.
similar to that, yeah.
I guess I haven't seen that. I
Oh,
don't.
you're fine. You live here.
Oh, yeah, it's very similar to.
Well, in the picture here, there's a chain link fence on here near the water.
Yeah, that's the fence along the river is chain link, yeah.
Yeah, you have to walk through this gate.
Yeah.
Which is gonna have no access sign on it. And go down to the dam to get to that chain link fence.
This is the corner
Oh.
of Sherry's. So
Oh,
that's what her fence is.
Oh,
And then
okay.
this fence is right along her fence.
Oh,
But then from here over is just her.
We should go on field trips.
Okay. So technically, there is a barrier on each side of
Yep.
this property.
Yes, correct. It's totally encircled.
Now, just to add a little more subject to this. Community picnic, which will be coming up in August. They have a fence that they put up. For the same purpose is to have protected entry to the beer tent where they have the music and stuff. And that is only a snow fence and it's only that high. Now, they have a security person at the gate that goes in, a single gate that goes in. And that is a police officer. And it's his responsibility to kind of eyeball the people coming in and detect their age group and let them pass if there's no question. And yeah, they could pass a drink over that fence, no problem with us, whatever. But I think the people that attend those functions, have got used to the situation and they kind of abide by it. And they say, well, okay, we're in a fence, we're enjoying the program, whatever. We can have alcohol, which they do. And I haven't heard of anything from the police department or something where they had an issue about that. So a chain link, yeah, it doesn't look like it's very good barrier, but it meets the requirements that we have. So I would, my own personal opinion, I think you've covered all the bases. Signage will be the trick, is to let people know what they can do and what they can't.
Yeah.
And like you say, there'll be some people that, for whatever reason, are gonna try to do something foolish and stuff. But otherwise, the rest of the crowd, I don't think you'll have a bit of a problem.
Yeah, last summer we poured beer for one of the music events in the park, across the river. And there was zero fence for that. There was,
Right.
we were pouring beer, other people were pouring beer, and there was no fence around.
If you go back 20 years ago, it used to be a double fence for the beer tent and
Right.
the issues. And I won't say when I was younger, because I didn't do anything like that. But yeah, and then things got better. So it's single fence. Technically for a community picnic, we don't even have to have a fence there, but there's a fence for community picnic because we charge a cover charge to get in and see the band. And like Chance said, if somebody wants to do something that they're not supposed to, they're going to do it. They'll find a way to do it. So it's just,
Okay, any other comments? If there are none, I would entertain a motion.
so I would move that, so we're not approving
So
conditional.
what we will, like all of these we've done, you're going to approve the application. We will come back in 2 weeks with the actual resolution.
Okay.
But you want to approve the
So I
application.
move that we approve the application with the, conditions as listed in Ian's June 25th, 2025 letter. Yeah. And additional signage, so,
As discussed.
yeah, as discussed.
And I'll second it.
Motion by Gary, second by Larry. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And passes. All right. Item 6, conditional use permit application 2025-16 for 127 West Main Street.
Okay, so these next two are the conditional use permits you guys approved at the last meeting. These are the actual resolutions that we then take to the register of deeds just to seal that deal. So what you're just doing is basically just rubber stamping again that the approvals from last time.
We approve resolution number 2025-06.
-16.
Oh, it's 06.
06.
16 is the dev number.
Oh.
You
Oh, I
can
see. I see.
blame Gabe for his
Yeah.
issue wanting to label everything. And then, but the resolution is 06.
Blame me for reading only the bold face. All
Yeah, well.
right. I'll second that. Here you second that. Self. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? There passes.
So that last one was Jane M's, and this next one is Johnny O's.
Yeah.
Which again, same deal you guys approved last week, 2 weeks ago. And we're just,
So discuss and consider resolution 2025-07 conditional use permit for Johnny O's Pizzeria.
I'll move we approve resolution 2025-07.
Second.
Gary, second by Larry. Any discussion?
They both have beer gardens in the back then?
Yes.
Yes. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Well, J&M's
Motion passes.
current beer garden for the, yeah, Johnny was, yeah, he's gonna have back along the river, so he's really technically got one.
Let's see, and we are at number 8, which is communications miscellaneous business. Commission member announcements, statements, or questions. Have an announcement. Just because I'm kind of excited about it, that the, circus is in town tomorrow.
That's right.
So I think that's kind of cool, whether it's related to planning or not. I think it's neat. So that's my statement.
I hope you have fun.
Aren't you going to it?
I am not.
And will they have animals?
Yes.
It looks like they have animals, at least lions and tigers or something. And,
If they perform okay, they don't want to perform, they don't, or something say.
and, acrobats and trapeze artists, and it looks like, I mean, I don't really know. That's what I've gathered by looking at their website.
Yeah.
So I just remember seeing old pictures where there was elephants in the streets at one time, black and white pictures, and
Down, they took one elephant down the damn bar, down in the basement.
maybe that was the one I saw, but I think it's kind of neat. Anyway, any other members have any announcements,
Yeah,
statements?
I asked Miriam to see if she could get some information on fences by other municipalities. And with her schedule and everything going on, she wasn't able to get any information to us now, but it's still on her list. And I think this will give us a little bit broader information on what other people are doing. And I would say at the same time, when we contact them, to ask them if their ordinance is working. If it isn't, what do they have to do to change it? So that'll give us a little bit more insight to this, because I see, and I think Gary does too, that this isn't a one-time deal here. I think we're going to see this on a regular basis for a long, long period of time. And so I think it's good to get the dots all in place and the T's all crossed and the whole bit.
Yep.
And that's basically, given a little history, that's what this commission has to do. We spent years and years getting what we've come to, and I think we did a pretty good job.
And to that point, the village staff and the committees are all working on recodifying all of our ordinances and making sure that their wording is updated and everything to match modern times and the way things have changed. So
Ours will be coming to this committee soon.
that is a daunting task, especially when you have to sit and read it all.
Well, my husband recommends you use ChatGTP.
Well, that kind of summarizes it, but
But no, it'll
Giving
like,
us some
he
stuff.
spent some time like comparing it, it'll compare it to other like ordinances around too and other things.
it's certainly good at making me tired and want to go to sleep.
Can't sleep, that's good bedtime reading.
Any future agenda items?
We do have one, because we just love public hearings, one public hearing in 2 weeks regarding a temporary accessory structure on 11 Carl. And there's something else happening, but I can't remember off the top of my head, but the agenda will be out soon. And then in August, we're expecting to see the site plans for the yards, probably. Just because she's anxious to get some construction started and do as much as they can as soon as everything is closed and they're ready to go. So that'll be in a couple months, but
And our next meeting date is July 9th, 2025.
will not be in attendance to that meeting, but Gabe and Ian will be here. I'm trying to have a vacation.
Yes, you deserve one.
Yeah. So,
All right.
You're gonna take all those ordinances along and read them when you're.
yeah, the water park, yeah. Sounds like, I'm gonna get.
Read them while your husband drives.
Well, the other way around probably, but yeah.
I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion that we adjourn.
I'll second.
Larry, Gary. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned at 6:43 PM.